Just to go back to the preparation United had for the game. The day before the game, Solskjaer took the players to the Cliff, which is Manchester United's old training ground. John and I would have spent many cold, wet mornings there. He took them back there to remind them about the club's route. There's another thing he's said in recent times. He's refused to use Alex Ferguson's car parking space. He feels that would be disrespectful. This kind of stuff, this kind of gimmickry, really, invoking the Manchester United of the past. This is not really coaching or football management. It just seems to me empty and pointless, and it's reflected now in the performances.
Yes, Eamon, I'd be a bit worried about that. Yeah, I don't think players they want to hear that. They want the manager to be innovative. They want him to be different. They want to be able to respect him, and I'd be frightened that that kind of situation where you're trying to remind the players of the past history of Manchester United. I think it's counterproductive.
Yeah.
They want something new. They want something that's going to improve them, and it looks increasingly likely that Solskjaer is maybe not the guy for the job. There was bound to be a good feeling about the place as soon as he took over from Mourinho, because Mourinho had fallen out completely with his playing staff. So that was bound to improve things, but you haven't really seen him improve the players. A bit like you're talking about how Guardiola's improved players. Yes. Solskjaer hasn't done it, but it's early days yet, Eamon, and we've been on about that Old Trafford squad for about 18 months. They're not good enough. So I think the lad deserves a chance to maybe see what he can do on the transfer market and get rid of some of the players that he has who are, in my opinion, are not going to deliver for him. No, I would agree with you. I don't like that kind of retrospective look at the club and what it's done in the past. You've got to move forward.
Yeah, John, Don Revie at Leeds, I know in your time, was a great manager. He liked to do strange things, but that idea of taking the players back to the Cliff the day before the City game, also the notion that even though he'd become manager at Manchester United or head coach, whatever the title is, he wasn't going to use Alex Ferguson's car park space. That's bullshit, isn't it?
Totally. I think a lot of it's been bullshit since he took over, to be quite honest, because I think I heard Liam saying they're living in the past. They keep going back to the Barcelona match when they did this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
What they did in their day, that day is gone. The new manager comes in and you go on. Like when Ferguson came into Old Trafford, there was a tradition there from the Busby days. Yeah. But he didn't refer back to them. He got on with the job, what he had to do.
Yeah.
It's 20 years ago since Solskjaer was playing. 20 years. Yeah. It's a different club and it's a different place. You have to change with it. And that doesn't seem to be the case. It could bounce all right when Mourinho was sacked. But in recent times now, a lot of people wonder, was it wise to give him a three-year contract? And I'm reading in the paper this morning that Pogba's playing up again. He's giving team talks, Eamon, and all that crap. Pogba, he was put in front of the television cameras after Goodison. He shouldn't have been allowed near the place. And he was one of the major culprits in the dreadful display at Goodison Park. So things are not right there, feelings there, Carragher's there. And, you see them discussing, it can only be one manager. He's the one that's got to get on with it. And again, we talked about it last week. What they need now is a Ferguson or a Conte, in my opinion, Eamon. Somebody that's really got stature and won't stand for Pogba and all the nonsense that's going on and living in the past. The past is gone. It doesn't care. It doesn't matter now. Solskjaer's in charge. He's got to do it. What he did 20 years ago is irrelevant.
Yeah, Liam, I like to take credit for things that are funny and are written, but a journalist called Paul Wilson in today's Guardian makes that point about the cliff and about Alex Ferguson's car parking arrangements. He also said, what's next? Get Brian Robson to take the lads on an all-day bender at Packrarren's pub, or have a round of golf at Davyhulme with Alex Stepney. Davyhulme is the golf club, for those not initiated, where the Manchester United players traditionally play. This is horseshit, Liam, isn't it? But you've already agreed with me that it is.
Yeah, well, I've already said that, Eamon. I've already said it's not right. It's not right. No, things need to move on, and the players are looking to him to bring new ideas to the.
Yeah.
But to be fair to him, he's been dealt a very difficult hand.
He has. Yeah.
And I don't know who's making the decisions or making all the decisions at Old Trafford, but to give Martial another contract, never mind Solskjaer getting a contract. Yeah. Give Martial another contract.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff,
Yeah.
And Pogba, I agree with John. Pogba needs moving on. It would be a real result for Manchester United if Real Madrid really did want him. But I said to you last week, Eamon, if Zidane was watching Pogba play in these matches, he'll be saying to the president, please don't buy him. I don't want him.
No. I just want to ask both of you, John, I'll ask you first about David De Gea. On many occasions over the past few seasons, he's been, I think, twice Player of the Year, but on many occasions he's been the saviour of Manchester United. He's been an outstanding goalkeeper. Having not looked great when he first came, he developed. At Spurs, against Spurs at Wembley a few weeks ago, he made 11 saves. United could have lost that match 5-1 instead of getting a result on the night. He was at fault, I felt, for both goals the other night. He looked in desperate shape at Everton. He looked totally demoralised by what was going on around him, lack of defence. He was at fault for both goals. It's really extraordinary the extent to which he's gone.
Yeah, well, he's been the outstanding goalkeeper, Eamon, there's no doubt. He didn't have a good World Cup either,
No.
And you see, you never know with goalkeepers, footballers or anybody, golfers, Eamon. I go back to golfers because it's so dramatic, because it's an individual sport. You say, when Seve Ballesteros was sort of at his best, Eamon, he's a young fella at his best and went. It's psychology. I don't understand psychology. I know that goalkeepers, particularly, as we know, they can't make any mistakes. We as outfield players could have a bad game. It wouldn't be that dramatic that you'd lose the game. Goalkeepers can. And who knows what's going on inside his head, Eamon? We don't know. No. It could be a confidence thing. It could be, nobody knows.
Well, he's in contract. He's in contract negotiations that aren't going well. And the understanding most people have close to the club is that Pogba's on 280,000 plus bonuses of all kinds. They won't give De Gea that kind of money, so he's not a happy camper.
Well, I would doubt very much. I think he's a good character lad that wouldn't play well because the negotiations are not going well. Negotiations can upset anybody. But I think, he's been a real pro. He is a great goalkeeper. Has been a great goalkeeper up to this year. So it could be. We don't know. There's something inside his head anyway that's not right. But it could be. You've seen goalkeepers and people over the years, whether it be in different sports, they lose their nerve.
Okay,
it can happen.
Yeah, let me just put the point rather differently to Liam. Liam, Alexis Sanchez is there on £550,000 sterling per week. He walks into that dressing room. The players see that. Somebody at that club made the decision to pay him that money. You have someone like Pogba. Someone made a decision to pay 100 million euros for Paul Pogba, 80 million sterling. And again, to make him almost the highest paid player in the club. I think that rot gets into a dressing room. Players see that kind of, those corporate mistakes, and it does have an effect on their morale.
Oh, for sure, Eamon. That's what needs to be sorted out, and that's what has referred to with the Solskjaer. You know, he's got to. He's the manager. He's got to, with the help of other people at the club, executives and so forth, sort all these things out. You know, it's very, very difficult. They have, in my opinion, as you rightly pointed out, with Sanchez and Pogba, two very, very difficult situations to sort out. But they have to get a grip of it and they have to sort it out. In De Gea's case, I think John is probably right. It's probably confidence. He didn't have a good World Cup. He's playing behind a really poor defence, and he looks unnerved by both. Loss of confidence and playing behind the defenders who he's got to play behind, and he's not performed well. But it may be that he is upset with the fact that Sanchez is on so much money and Pogba's on so much money, and United won't pay him what he wants. But I, like John, would think he wouldn't let that interfere with his performance. I have a feeling it's confidence with that lad.
Okay,
Eamon, I think can I just say something? It could be a whole morale thing at the club.
Yes.
You know, if you get Sanchez getting the money that he's getting and Pogba getting the money that they're getting, and they're really playing, then players can accept it. But when they're getting the big money and they're not playing, you know, that's when it really gets to players.
Yes.
You know, Pogba is apparently given a team talk the other day. Team talk from Pogba.
Yeah.
You know, this type of nonsense. And that all comes back to the man. It comes back to Solskjaer. He's got to be big enough to be able to handle that and tell Pogba to shut up and get out on the pitch and do his stuff to where he should be doing it. All those things come in. We're not in the dressing room, but it certainly doesn't sound good. Let's put it that way.
I just want to talk to both of you about Roy Keane in particular, and Gary Neville and Souness were on the Sky panel. I thought Keane was really great, John. He was asked about Pogba, the young woman journalist from Sky did an interview with Pogba, and they came back to the studio and the anchor said to Roy, "What did you think about that?" And Roy said, "I don't believe a word he said. He's a spoofer," and called him out. And I thought it was really good. I mean, I thought he was good all night, Keane. He had plenty of time. He was very measured in what he was saying. But basically, he said, there's too many bluffers in that team. But he particularly focused in on Pogba and the interview. He basically said, I don't believe one word he said.
Yeah, that's what he actually said.
And that's the words. They're the words he used.
Yeah. I think I was very good. I thought Keane was brilliant the other night, and it was made for him, Eamon, because what he was talking about, approach to the match, attitude, and I think they got on to somebody, I think it was Fred or somebody, not chasing back for the goal.
It was Fred.
That was Keane. That's what made Keane great. You know, Keane never, in my experience watching him playing, didn't get back, didn't demand it of the others and the things that we're doing. And what he was getting annoyed, I think, he was getting annoyed at Gary Neville, because Gary Neville was talking a load of nonsense. He was saying, well, the way City play, you know, they tire you out. And Graham Souness, who also was a great midfield player, said that was after 53 minutes.
That's right. You know? It was for the Bernardo Silva goal. Neville was trying to suggest that Shaw, who didn't really make much of an effort to stop what was a scuffed shot, and the suggestion from Neville was that Shaw had been running around all night chasing Bernardo Silva, and he was tired.
He was tired. It was nonsense. You see, like most times Gary Neville on, he's never challenged Eamon, you know, because the people around him are not very, very good. But Graham Souness was on the other night. Keane was on at night, you know, and they're well able to challenge him and did challenge him. You know, in Neville's case, I mean, if you watch the match the other night, he's having an interview before Solskjaer, before the game, having a laugh and a joke. Now, you know as a pundit, and Liam knows and I know as a pundit, you don't be that close to anybody, Eamon, because there's a good chance you're going to be criticising them during the game and that. Yep. So I don't know what Neville's game was, but Keane was very, very adamant and quite right in the way Keane played. We know him as a player. He wouldn't let anybody not chase back.
Yes.
Or Graham Souness for that, man. That's what made them great players. But Neville was, in my opinion, was trying to defend the indefensible with what happened with Manchester City. But Keane, I thought Keane particularly was excellent and said exactly what was needed in the circumstances after the match the other night.
Yeah, Liam, he put it up to Neville, didn't he? And indeed, he put it up to the United players in a very intelligent and measured way. He had time to do it.
Yeah, well, we've been. It wasn't difficult to spot, Eamon. We've been talking about this situation for the best part of a year with some of the United players. He calls them bluffers. We might say they're not genuine.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
But there's this overwhelming thing. This overwhelming thing in the analysis you get in England, and Pogba is at the very heart of it. That people won't actually call him out. People won't say this guy's not. He's not the real deal.
They're a little bit scared that if they do have a real go at him, that the next week he's going to score a spectacular goal and they're going to be put back in their box.
Yeah.
And that's what frightens some of the commentators and some of the analysts. And you sometimes hear them, after a good pass, always, what a wonderful player and all that. But Keane, like us three, know him that Keane might call him a bluffer. I would say he's not genuine. He's not a genuine pro. And well, it was set up for Keane and Souness. They really hammered Gary Neville, who, as John says, was talking nonsense. He's far too clever by half, Gary Neville. Sometimes he's talking about things I don't understand. I've played the game for 20 odd years. I don't understand what he's on about. And on top of that, his performance as a coach at Valencia, I think he's got very little credibility.
He should have handed it.
Honest. But as John says, they don't often have anybody on who can pick him up on the rubbish things he's saying.
Yeah, maybe neither of you saw it. There was a moment during the match in the first half when United were doing relatively well, and Pogba got the ball close to the touchline, and it was quite tight. There was nowhere to go, really. So he had to put his foot on it, and he slowed it down. And he just knocked a 5-yard pass inside to Fred. And Gary Neville came straight in, and he said, that's what's great about Paul Pogba. He said, he knows when to change the tempo of the game and slow things down. It was absolutely. Did either of you notice it? No.
Yeah, I heard that, Eamon. It was absolutely.
I thought it was unbelievable.
Well, I usually turn it down, Eamon.
Yeah, I know you turn it down, John. You turn it off. But here's the serious point, and we'll give Paul Pogba the day off afterwards. He's in the PFA Player of the Year team. Yeah. Liam, how can professional players who must see what we're seeing? You can understand the pundits bluffing, but how can professional players put him in the PFA team? He's the only non-Manchester City Liverpool player in the team. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, well, I when I heard it, I was baffled to say the least. But then they followed up by saying that I think he's got double figures goals and he's got quite a healthy amount of assists, Eamon. So probably, picking up the papers and reading positive articles about him, the players have decided that he should be in the team. But I would disagree. I think there's far better midfield players out there this season than Paul Pogba.
Yep.
John? There was a good article in the paper this morning by an ex-pro, and he said, and I think my experience, I would agree with him, that when they send the cards around to pick these particular teams, the players are not that bothered, Eamon.
Yeah.
And they pick names that's handy to write down, and that you know what I mean. Now, that's and I know in my time there were certain players picked in the best team. I couldn't understand, but it seemed to be convenient. Like the point he was making was the players have no interest in it. To give them the cards and say who is playing for that. Like they don't study it and give plenty of time to do it, and that would be my experience of it as well. Eamon, of picking. I don't know whether Liam could answer that or not. But
well, hold on. I was a player too, and I used to get those cards. But I don't think Dunphy's a hard name to write.
No, you wouldn't, but a lot of players has the right, but they weren't bothered about it, Eamon.
I know,
They
I'm
weren't
only
bothered
joking.
about it, you know.
You didn't get me joke. Liam, we'll go to another... more...
Look, as someone who's won the PFA award, I'm not going to be critical.
Oh, well done, Liam. I tell you what, David Ginola won it.
I was picked in a couple of teams, Eamon.
I'm sure you were, yeah. Not by the men that you kicked, but we won't go there. Now,